Hello, my dear friends. How are you doing? Hope you are having an amazing day and not having to deal with drama. Ready for new stories I have for you today? Let's go to the first one. And don't forget to listen to the end of the story, guys, to hear my insights. Enjoy the stories, and don't forget to like and subscribe. And of course, don't forget to leave a comment. I, 21 female, have always had a rocky relationship with my father, 50 male. For some context, my parents got divorced when I was a young teenager. I don't want to get into the details, but there was aggression and infidelity on my dad's part, which is why my mom decided to leave. The divorce was really ugly, but mom won the custody battle, and ever since, me and my younger sister, now 18 female, have been living with her. Since we were living with my mom full-time, he was supposed to pay child support. However, the state I live in also requires the parent to cover 1/3 of secondary education costs if the child decides to go to college. The idea is basically each parent and the child covers 1/3 of the total cost each. I happened to get into the top university of my choice, and not only that, I had gotten scholarships which covered the full cost of my tuition. The only cost we had remaining were room and board. So it was determined, since I had more than covered my 1/3 of the cost, that my parents would be responsible for splitting half of the remaining costs. This obviously caused some problems with my dad. The first year of college, I constantly had to remind him to pay. He was always paying late, and sometimes not paying the full amount. So I had to cover it out of my own pocket whenever he fell short. My second year, he suddenly stopped paying, which caused me to take out a student loan. I'm currently in the middle of my 4th and last year of university, and I haven't seen a penny since he stopped. That incident, plus what happened during the divorce, has made our relationship rough. My sister still has a relationship with him, so I try to keep things civil. I'm also really non-confrontational, so I have a hard time expressing myself to my dad. He will often text and tries to make an effort to hang out. However, it's been more than 6 months since I've seen him in person. Now my dad has recently told me he's getting remarried. I'm not going to lie, I'm a little shocked, since my dad is basically a man whore. At some point, I found out he was dating 3 different women all at the same time, but that's a whole other story. Over the summer, my dad decided to move in with the new girlfriend after only dating her for 2 weeks. Questionable, but that's none of my business. Anyways, the girlfriend, let's call her Nicole, seemed quite young, really young. It turns out that Nicole is 26 years old. To put that in perspective, she's only 5 years older than me. I'm gonna be honest, I'm really uncomfortable with their age gap. I know they are both consenting adults, but since we're so close in age, it rubs me the wrong way. Flash forward to September and my dad lost his job. And then him and Nicole suddenly decided to go on this big trip to visit her family in Georgia. Which is strange, because that's a little expensive for someone who just lost their job. They were gone for over a month. Questions started being raised on why they stayed there so long. Turns out, Nicole was married and had to go back to Georgia to get a divorce from her husband. I don't know all the details about her previous marriage, but I do know that she got married really young, and that my dad knew she was still married when they started dating. They got back from the trip, and my dad and her officially announced their engagement sometime in November. I don't really know how to feel about the whole thing. They've since then reached out several times asking me to come to the wedding. All throughout winter break, I've been thinking about it. They tried to invite me to a family game night, but I declined because they scheduled it on my mom's 50th birthday, which I think they did on purpose. They tried to ask me to come celebrate Christmas and got upset when I said I wanted to spend Christmas morning with my mom. I heard them both talking bad about me over the phone with my sister because I didn't do Christmas with them. I don't want to get into it, but they basically called me a B on the phone. You get the idea. They basically say stuff to my face about wanting me to be there and sweet-talking me. But then I hear them saying stuff behind my back. I was already unsure if I wanted to go, but now I'm sure I don't want to go. When I told my sister I wasn't going, she threw a fit and told me I was being a bad daughter by not going, and that I was just being petty. I told her I disagreed, and that I would not be attending a wedding with people who disrespect me. They're having the wedding in January, after less than 6 months of knowing each other. We suspect the urgency may be due to the fact that my dad doesn't have health insurance anymore, and she does. But who am I to speculate? Anyways, the wedding is this upcoming weekend, and some of my family members are upset with me for not attending. I think I just need some perspective. Am I in the wrong here? OP is definitely not the a-hole. OP's dad bailed on court-ordered college payments, dove into a whirlwind romance with someone 5 years younger than OP, schedules family events to upstage OP's mom, and badmouths OP when OP set boundaries. Yet somehow thinks OP owes him cheerful attendance at a wedding that looks suspiciously like a health insurance speed run. An invitation isn't a subpoena, so OP needs to protect her peace. Stick with the parents who's actually there for her, and let dad rebuild bridges only after he pays what he owes and shows genuine respect. And now let's hear the community's opinion. Not the a-hole whatsoever. You don't owe him your time, your energy, or your love for that matter. Ultimately, he has failed you over and over again. And the audacity to invite you to a wedding after what him and his fiancée have said about you and how he has treated you. Your sister's relationship is separate from yours. You don't need to be civil or keep the peace. You don't even need to talk to him if you don't want to. I wouldn't go, especially after realizing that he has the money to marry his 26-year-old fiancée, but none for his child's education? Nah, that is crazy, and I would be pissed. I get that you're an adult, but he still had and has an obligation. You're still his child, and always will be. Any way you can take him to court and sue him for the 1/3 that he hasn't been paying? Not the a-hole. I mean, why would they want a witch at their wedding anyway? Screw them. And definitely sue your father for the remaining balance of your education that he owes you. He violated a court order, and you need to sue him in order to ever get paid should he become employed again. Update. To start off, I did not end up going to my father's wedding. Instead, I stayed home and spent time having fun with friends and my mom. My sister was really upset at me for pulling out at the last minute, even though I had made my intentions clear earlier. She posted pictures of the wedding on her Instagram story, which had some passive-aggressive comments in it about spending time with her real family. I admit that stung a little, but I brushed it off. Well, something happened after the wedding. This is context I left out of my original post, because it wasn't relevant, but it has now become relevant. After my dad stopped paying for school, I had a long, hard thought about which family members have actually been there for me. My mom had been raising me as a single mom, and even though she couldn't financially help out a lot in college, she has been here for me every step of the way. My grandparents on my mom's side are so unbelievably supportive, and I probably wouldn't have been able to make it through college without them keeping me sane. My mom went back to her Mahdian name during the divorce, to match grandparents' last name, while my sister and I kept my dad's last name. After the financial falling out with my dad, I decided to take my mom's last name. I don't see why I would want his last name on my bachelor's degree, since it was my mom and grandparents that supported me throughout high school and college. I completed the paperwork a little bit before Thanksgiving, and have now finalized my name change. Here's the thing, I was waiting to sit down and have an in-person conversation about my name change with my father. My sister also didn't know because I knew she would go behind my back and tell Dad before I got the chance to, and I wanted to at least explain myself before the shit storm happened. I was waiting for a good time to do it, but between finals, Christmas, and his wedding, it didn't seem like a good time. Apparently, a couple days after the wedding, my sister found out about my name change. She did exactly what I thought she would do, and she immediately went and told my dad, even though she was explicitly told not to. When I confronted her about the situation, she basically gaslighted me, saying it was my fault for lying, and that she had a right to my personal information because we're family. I tried to explain that I was waiting to talk to Dad about it first, but she wasn't really willing to listen to me. We haven't really been talking a lot recently, but honestly, that's fine by me. Because as of lately, she hasn't been the most supportive. Dad is pissed at me, which I knew was coming. My dad believes in traditional values. He thinks that he has a right to my last name because he is the head of the family. But according to traditional values, wouldn't I be changing my last name if I got married anyway? What's the difference if I want to change my name to the one I want to use professionally? Apparently, he was so upset that he didn't even bother to contact me on my birthday. His new wife is pissed at me for starting drama after her wedding and is now going around to that side of the family and is taking shit about me with my sister. My grandma on my dad's side is also upset at me. On my birthday, I received a letter she sent me basically saying that she was disowning me. She has not really been in my life since the divorce. We're not close, and she is actually such a boy mom and treated my mom so awful before and after the divorce. This is part of the reason we don't talk. Even though the letter was rude, I low-key found it kind of funny. She wasted nice stationery and postage to send me such a nasty letter. She basically just wants to stir up drama. And that's exactly what that family wants. Drama. So I decided not to give them that satisfaction. I'm going no contact with my dad, his new wife, and my grandma. After everything that's happened, they have shown me that they don't value our relationship. I'm leaving the door open for my sister to contact me, but I'm not holding my breath. I think she needs to learn to respect that I just don't want a relationship with my dad. I'm glad that I'm cutting people out of my life that don't value me, because honestly, it gives me more time to focus on the people that do. I'm going to be graduating this spring, and I can't wait to celebrate my degree with my chosen last name on it. My sister owns a house and is currently in the process of losing it. She wants me to help her out by saying I live there and pay rent to help her refinance her mortgage. I, however, do not live there. I moved out a year or so ago and had a baby. I am currently living with my boyfriend in a different city. My mom is really mad at me. She's saying that she doesn't understand why I don't just do it and that they could lose the house if I don't do it. She told a close relative that I have until Monday in a threatening way. My sister told me it'll be my fault if they end up homeless, and she tried to throw in my nieces being homeless as well. The thing is, they used to do fraud all the time like it was no big deal, and they want me to, I guess, follow blindly. They never learned their lesson from committing fraud because they haven't been caught. They would take money out of my dad's account, somewhere around $15,000 in total, and open credit card and phones under his name. My dad was from another country and sadly didn't know how any of those things worked or how to check on them. My mother is evil. I won't go into the things that she did to him, or the rest of the children, but she's bad enough to the point where I won't trust her alone with my daughter. My father passed away last year. I knew what they were doing was wrong and begged them not to do it, and even got yelled at and scolded for trying to make them stop on several occasions. I never went to my dad, though, or let him know what was going on. I was scared he would leave us, and now I know that was selfish, and I should have just told him. Although I wasn't the one to take his money, I have a lot of guilt for not speaking up. I was around 17 at the time. I regret my silence to the fullest. Anyways, here we are in the present, and I'm made out to be the bad guy because I won't cooperate. For some reason, they can't get it through their head that I don't want a chance getting fraud on my record. I can't do that to my daughter. I can't do that to my boyfriend. I can't do that to myself. I feel like this is it. This is what's going to end our mom and sister relationship. I should also throw in that they are both pill poppers. It's a touchy subject for them. I get yelled at anytime I mention them and pills in the same sentence, even when it's in a concerning, heartfelt way. I'm hoping they don't try to forge the paperwork or my signature. Part of me thinks they will if they somehow convince themselves that they can get away with it. I love my family, I do. But I've realized they don't love me, or at least not in a sincere way. Not if they treat me like crap for not wanting to commit fraud. They can't even look at it from my perspective. I tried to decline doing the refinance for the mortgage thing in a nice, proper way, but that didn't go over too well. Anyone have any suggestions or maybe how to end this on proper terms? Or is this good enough reason to go no contact with family? If you haven't already, you need to check your credit report to make sure they haven't used your information for identity theft. And then put a freeze on your credit so they can't fraudulently use your credit. Put a freeze on your credit. They probably know your social security number and this will limit the damage they can do to you. Stay firm. You're in a horrible spot. But just realize that they needed to learn how to manage finances properly and that this house of cards will all eventually come crashing down around them and that you are not responsible for any of it. And give yourself a break for when you were 17. You were a minor and didn't know what to do in a complex situation. Update. I just found out my work didn't update my change of address when I put the forms in, and now my W-2s were sent to my old address, theirs. I'm scared they can use these instead of my pay stubs and my signature. Everyone at work says they've received theirs. My mom said mine aren't there, yet I don't know if I believe her. My son Seth is my only child from my second marriage. His mother Lydia, 47 female, and I divorced when he was 4 years old. He was very upset when this happened. The entire process was very hard for him. All he wanted was for us to get back together. However, it was Lydia who decided that she didn't want to be married and that she didn't want to raise a kid. She just wanted her freedom back, what she had when she was living the single life. I wanted to go to marriage counseling and work things out, but she just wanted a divorce. Eventually, I acquiesced. Seth went to live with her, and he came to my house on the weekends. Lydia didn't want to raise a kid, but she did want a kid around when she felt like having one around. She only wanted to be a parent when it was fun. Currently, Lydia and I are courteous with each other, but we only talk when we absolutely need to. Seth is much closer to her than he is to me because she's the fun parent, and because I remarried to a woman that he dislikes. I remarried when Seth was 14 to my current wife, Michelle, 45 female. I dated Michelle for 10 years before I married her, and she moved in with me 3 years into our relationship. The reason I dated Michelle for 10 years before I married her is because of Seth. He has never liked Michelle. To him, this woman has been trying to replace his mother for his entire life. I thought that marrying her would drive him away, and I didn't want that. So I waited. For 10 years. Yes, and I understand that that's a ridiculously long time, but I just wanted to do what I thought was best for Seth. I didn't want him to be unhappy. I didn't want him to hate me. I made this major sacrifice because I didn't want to completely lose him to his mother, who may be the fun parent, but is irresponsible, immature, and a bad role model. She is not a good influence on Seth. And because of the way she approaches parenting, which is not really parenting at all, he will never reach his full potential. I wanted to make sure that he would grow up right, so I tried to stay in his life as long as possible by keeping my relationship with Michelle at bay. But after I married her, Seth grew much more distant, as I feared, but ultimately expected. However, he still has his own bedroom in my house. I always invite him to family functions, even though he always turns me down. I keep the door open for him in case he ever wants to reconnect. He knows that he is always welcome in my home. He has yet to accept it, but I remain firm on being there for him. Now, on to the actual issue. Michelle moved in with me when Seth was 7 years old, and after she moved in, her niece Olivia started visiting us, and her and Seth grew very close. They spent almost all of their time together as children. They were best friends. They were completely inseparable. However, around the time that Seth and Olivia became preteens, Seth started protesting about Olivia. He didn't want her to come over anymore. He didn't want to spend time with her. He didn't want anything to do with Michelle's family, and that included Olivia. And I listened to him. Olivia stopped coming over. If she did come over, it was with her parents, and it was always when Seth wasn't around. Currently, Olivia and Seth rarely talk. They haven't been true friends in years. However, I still continue to see Olivia often because of Michelle. Last June, Olivia's mother, Michelle's sister, and father died in a car accident. Michelle and I made arrangements for Olivia to move in with us. She went off to college, and she came back for Thanksgiving and winter break. She is now back for summer vacation. She was already an independent adult when she moved in with us, so we're not her legal guardians or her adoptive parents. But we do care for her and look out for her as if she were our child. After her parents died, she needed parental figures in her life, even though she was technically an adult. Seth didn't discover that Olivia has moved in with me until recently, and that's because he rarely talks to me anymore. I'm not sure where he thought she was living after her parents died, but it doesn't matter. He currently lives in the basement of his girlfriend's house. She's still in high school, and he has a job working on cars, so he's living his own life. To him, he has no reason to care about what goes on in my house. At the beginning of this month, Seth came to my house to pick up some clothes, and when he walked into the basement, he saw where Olivia's been living for the past year. He asked Olivia what was going on, and when she explained everything, he ran upstairs and started yelling at me. He was angry beyond belief. I tried having a rational conversation with him, but he wasn't having any of it. He kept saying things like, "She's not even your daughter," and "She's an adult. Why can't she get her own place?" It was extremely frustrating. He wouldn't listen to a word of what I had to say. He left soon after. I didn't hear from him for several weeks, until last week when he came over to retrieve some of his music from our desktop computer. He dropped by, did what he had to do, and left without a word. Today, Olivia had a Skype interview at 4 p.m. for an internship position. At 3:30, she went outside to move the trash cans to the curb. When she went outside, she passed by Seth as he was walking in and said hi to him. He stops by whenever he needs to get something, so she didn't think anything of it. However, she didn't get to go back inside. When she went outside to move the trash cans, Seth locked all the doors. She had also left her phone inside, so she couldn't call me or Michelle for help. Around 5, Seth finally let her back in. I got home around 5:15 to see them having the most major shouting match they've ever had. After Seth stormed out, Olivia explained to me what happened. Seth told her he locked her out because she deserved it, and because you shouldn't even be living here, let alone having a ducking job interview on our computer. Last week when he was over, Seth must have seen that Olivia had a Skype interview today, as she posts sticky note reminders to herself on the desktop of the computer. So he came over here today just to purposely sabotage her. This makes me angrier than I've been in a very long time. I can't even begin to describe how upset I am with him. He cost her an important job opportunity. So what do I do? Should I try to talk to my son about this? Should I change how I've been treating him thus far? Could that be the reason why he's behaving so maliciously? This is not the boy I know. He feels like a complete stranger to me. I can't believe he would do something so spiteful. Can anything be salvaged from this? You should take his key away and tell him he isn't welcome there. Why should he be? Literally, her parents died, and he's finding ways to intentionally hurt her after the fact. Change your locks. Seth isn't allowed back in unsupervised. He's plain jealous. Unless he gets counseling to treat his issue like an adult, he stays out. He's pulling the trump card. He's your son. He deserves your attention and love more than your girlfriend and Olivia. That divorce still has its effects, and your story about his mom not wanting him around, but still keeping him 5 days a week, is why he's not getting a balanced story he can work with. Since he's hardly in contact with you and only shows up to create trouble, set up some boundaries. Olivia went through something terrible and is trying to make something of her life. With a job, she would have been out of your house a lot faster. But that's not what Seth is interested in. He's not going to appreciate you picking Olivia's safety and health over him. But he's intent on ruining your relationships, so you should do damage control. You need to take steps to keep Olivia safe. Your son is an adult who is going out of his way to hurt another person who has never done him any harm. You tried to be a good parent by giving in to him in terms of your relationship for most of his life. He thinks you'll do the same now. You can't help him right now. You need to protect her. Be prepared for him to escalate. Sit down with your wife and Olivia and come up with a plan of how to keep everyone safe and what to do if violence occurs. Beyond that, ask your son's girlfriend and friends what he's been saying about her. It's possible that his mom turned him against Olivia a long time ago, and getting to the bottom of that might be helpful, but must be secondary to her current safety. Edit. I saw some questions about Seth's relationship with Michelle and Olivia, as well as some questions about Lydia, so I'll add my answers to the post. When Seth was a kid, Michelle tried hard to connect with him. He accepted her, but as he got older, he didn't want to engage with her anymore. She respected that. She didn't force him to spend time with her or anything like that. She always invited him to do things with her, but she didn't create drama or negativity when he turned her down. She is nice to him and has never done anything malicious to him. If she had, I never would have married her. Seth's desire to stop seeing Olivia wasn't immediate. As time went on, he started asking me more and more, and when he became visibly angry about it, she stopped coming over. So she started to come to my house less and less often. As far as I know, nothing particularly terrible happened between them for him to start acting like this. Olivia thought they stopped being close because they were preteens, and it was that awkward stage when kids of the opposite gender felt weird spending time with each other. I plan on asking her if something happened that she hasn't told us about. As for Lydia being an irresponsible parent, sometimes during the week I would open my front door to find her standing there with Seth, and she would ask me to watch him for a while because she couldn't deal with him at the moment. For a while, and at the moment, turned into days sometimes. She was all too happy to take him to the amusement park, but she never wanted to do things like go to his parent-teacher conferences. Even though she didn't want to raise kids, she wanted custody of him because she didn't want me to have more influence over him. Because she didn't want to raise a kid, she treated Seth more like a mini-adult than a child. I believe that wanting to raise a kid and wanting to be around a kid are two different things, and she wanted the latter. Anything serious was left up to me. Lydia is immature because she still acts like she's in high school. She skips work when she isn't sick. She gossips about her friends behind their backs. She hates commitment of any kind. She wants to have her way until it's too much work to keep it that way. I know that she doesn't like Michelle, and I strongly suspect that she has turned Seth against her. When I married Michelle, Lydia was very immature about the entire issue. I had to prohibit her from coming to the wedding. She gave Michelle second thoughts about marrying me in a very underhanded way. Those must have spread to Seth as well, because he stopped wanting to spend time with Michelle after I married her. Edit 2. I called the company the day of the incident and explained what happened. They understood, but didn't reoffer the position. I have since talked to my niece about everything. Hi, I'm hoping you can help me out. My brother passed away from cancer over the summer, and they have come to live with me. I live in a small town in the Midwest, and they are adjusting okay. My nephew has his first little girlfriend, and it's an adjustment for them. They grew up in the lap of luxury pretty much. I am talking private jet-level wealthy. They are close, and my niece and nephew really do have each other's back. My brother, for some ungodly reason, left his fortune and everything that comes with it to his son. My nephew wants to split everything between him and his sister when they turn 18. He does not think it's fair that he gets everything, and really neither of them will have to work a day in their lives. My brothers, his uncles, are against the idea, and they think it's wrong to go against the will. How do I get through to them? You can tell them to pound sand. A will is a legally binding document. That money is his children's and nobody else's. Given the amount of money he had, I am sure he had a mechanism in place to ensure the money is safely held until they can legally access the trust, or whatever type of account it was left in. His nephew can do whatever he wants with that money. And, if it is as substantial as you say, splitting between them isn't wrong. This isn't going against the will. Once the money is in his possession, he can do whatever he wants with it. Your brother left that money to his son, so his son gets to decide what the best use of it is. Personally, I agree that the best use of it is to make sure that his snubbed sibling is taken care of just as he is. So, follow-up question. Are your other brothers maybe making their own plans on how to get that money? I'm sure with an estate that big, there are already lawyers involved. But is your nephew ensured that the money is sealed away where no conniving family members can get to it? Yes, my brothers can't get their hands on it. None of us except him can ever get their hands on it. My brother made sure of it. It is airtight that the money is his. The lawyers told me and him so.